Dallas Cowboys.
Come on, y'all! Get you some of that!
Well, hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue Star Roundup. I'm Rob Vale. This is Levi Bachelor. We are back after a 2-week hiatus, and hope everybody has been enjoying the win streak. We haven't missed a beat since we've been gone, and
That's right.
we won again.
Again, that's 9 in a row. First time in this prestigious franchise's history that they have ever won this many consecutive ball games.
And that's saying something when you consider the great teams that this franchise has had. I mean, stretching all the way back into the, back into the late '60s, early '70s, and right up through the '90s. And also considering they had 22 consecutive winning seasons.
That's right.
That's really quite the feat. And I think even by today's standards, that's a pretty awesome feat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you haven't seen a team this dominant really since the Patriots went undefeated and then lost the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah, and you know, the critics say, well, it's a soft 9-1. You know, it's a soft schedule. And so let me tell you something. When we played the Green Bay Packers, they were the number one defense in the NFL, and we ran through them. And when we beat the Ravens this past week, they were the number one, and we ran through them. So let's be realistic here. You know, you beat the teams that are put in front of you.
That's right.
And if they're playing well, then you beat them. And if and you beat them, that's kudos. If they're not playing well. You know, we talked about it when they played Cleveland. You know, it could have been a trap game for them, and it really was a trap game. Mm-hmm. They could have laid down, but you know, just to touch on what Jason Garrett and his process is all about. You know, it's day to day, just building one good day on top of another good day, and getting to game day. I mean, they have done a fantastic job. It doesn't matter who it is; they go out and they just dominate.
That's right. I mean, you got to think, just like you were touching on, I mean, it starts at the top and works all the way down. You know, the front office has been fantastic with signing guys and making sure that the guys that they want on this team are happy. And, you know, Garrett has his process that is starting to take over now that it seems that everybody on that team has bought into 100% bought into his process. You've got, you know, that Marinelli is, I mean, in my mind, it's a toss-up between him and Garrett for Coach of the Year. And, you know, and Linehan has had, he's been more of a roller coaster. If there's been any, I don't want to say inconsistency because it's not been to that extreme, but if there has been any kind of ups and downs throughout what we've seen this year, it's been Linehan. It's very clear that, you know, that he's had some games better. He's called games better, some games better than other games. Yeah,
well, and I think that goes to what the opposition is doing. Mm-hmm. You know, when you start taking away the run, you got to adjust. And I tell you what, to Linehan's credit, his second halves have been phenomenal.
They've been awesome.
I mean, so what that says is that he sees, you know, here's the game plan. We got a rookie out there. We've got 2 rookies out there.
That's right.
We're gonna stick with the plan. We're gonna keep going with the plan. We're not gonna get too far behind. You know, we're gonna, you know, if that's all we get is a field goal, then at least we're gonna get some points.
Right.
And because in the second half we know how to do it. Michael Irvin made a statement this week. I just absolutely loved it. He says, you know, with the Dallas Cowboys, you get to pick your poison, but you do realize and accept the fact that you're going to die.
Right.
So
either
whether it's going to be one or the other, it's going to happen. So, by the way, I love the quote.
Yeah, and I mean, true, but you got to think truer words have not been spoken. I mean, we've seen teams load up the box and see Dak go and methodically start picking secondaries apart. Or you see guys at that point, you see defenses start to back up, back out of the box, and then Zeke and this offensive line would just maul you. So yeah, I mean,
and to the credit with the receivers too, because when they've done that, Beasley is football smart. Witten is football smart. Dez is football smart. And I'm not saying Terrence isn't, but I've seen those other three make adjustments themselves at the line based on the coverage to expose that crowded box, or to make adjustments based on the coverages that were there. And to Prescott's credit, he's seen it and has been able to exploit it. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, you said earlier about the young guys buying in, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're all buying into it, and they're all on board. So it's making everybody look good.
And I think that, and it's easy to overlook, especially with how well this offense has been playing, is, that we go on and on and on. It seems like almost every week we keep talking about how much better the defense it continues to get.
Right.
On the flip side of things, the offense is getting that much better too, because Dak is now getting so much time with all of the receivers, Bees, T. Will, Butler, the X. He's able to see those receivers start to make adjustments, and they're able to run more of those option routes. Dak knows which option they're going to end up being able to take. So not only is our defense continuing to get better, and it'll only get better as Mo gets healthy and as Church gets healthy. When we start getting those major pieces back on the defense, we're only going to get better there. But this offense, man, is there any stopping it? Dak is not only reading defenses, but like I said, getting that nice chemistry going with all the guys on the outside and with Zeke. How do you stop it? I mean, there's no way to.
Well, yeah, and I'm not going to say that this team won't lose another game. Anything's possible.
Absolutely. Any given Sunday.
Yeah. But what I will say is this: as we go further into the season, we start seeing some things that Dak needs to work on, and defensive coordinators see that, and they try to force him into those areas that he's not particularly good at, throwing out the back of his foot, getting that pressure, bringing some blitzes, things like that. But what we've also seen, talking about Dak, he learns quickly. He seems to just, here's a challenge, I made a mistake and now I can change, and I can learn from that and move forward. And a lot of that, I do believe, I'm going to give Tony Romo credit for, because he's sitting on that sideline and he's in his ear. And a lot was made by a certain sports writer. I'm not even going to give his name, because I don't think he's worth giving it to. But he's talking about how Romo has been pouting and stuff like that. I don't see that.
No.
I see him on the sideline with the Surface Pro and talking to Dak and explaining to him. And when there's a touchdown and they cut to him, he's smiling and he's high-fiving, he's excited. So, and he's
clearly saying stuff like it's his time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but the thing is that we're seeing Dak grow every single week, and we keep saying, okay, here's the next challenge. What's going to happen? And he keeps meeting those. So great for him. So a little bit of a breakdown on the game from against the Ravens. Again, faced the number one defense in the NFL and prevailed 27-17. So a couple numbers. Dak was 27 for 36 for 301 yards, 3 touchdowns. What's even more impressive about that is the fact that, while he had 9 incompletions, the most of them were seemingly in the first half. He seemed to be a little off target in the first half. He was high, he was behind on some throws, and it just didn't seem to get set real well.
Right.
But that being said, he came back to have a great second half. Really did a great job.
He's on point.
Yeah. Rushing, Zeke did not get 100. He got 97 yards. I don't know why they put him back in there at the end, but whatever.
This was one of those games going up against the number one defense currently in the NFL. When they need a big game from Zeke, he's going to give you a big game. When they need him to go out there and do his job and salt the game away, take the air out of the football and just run that clock, that's what he does.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what happened this past week.
Yeah, and And some big contributions from him in the passing game. He had 4 catches for 30 yards, but beyond that, he has some good blitz pickups.
Yep.
He's learning this game very, very quickly, and you can see from the first 3 or 4 games of the year to now that the game has really slowed down for him. So that's all good stuff. Receiving, Bryant was 6 for 80 with 2 touchdowns. Beasley had 5 for 59 and a touchdown. Butler got into the act. Jason Witten had 5 catches. As we said, Elliott had 4. So well-rounded offensive output. Thought we did really well.
And, being able to spread the ball around to all those different receivers and have Zeke in the backfield and have to worry about Dak taking off on you if your coverage is good.
Yeah, exactly. And some of those catches were clutch catches too to keep drives going and stuff. So really good. Defensively, so there's some good and bad and ugly from the defensive side. The defense still has not given up a 100-yard rusher.
Much maligned defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, they've really stepped up there. That's the good. The bad is they're still needing some pressure.
Yes.
We just got 1 sack last week from Jack Crawford. But here's the ugly. 3 games in a row. Not a single takeaway.
Not a single one. Yep.
No takeaways. We've got to figure that out. Granted, a lot of that's going to come through interceptions, and without Church out there and with Mo out, I get it. But there's got to be some other things happening. There's got to be some fighting for that ball and trying to strip that ball. I'm not saying that they're not doing it, but they're not being successful at it.
Right.
So we've got to find a way to swing some of that advantage to us, because some of those drives that they just seem to go on and on. They're converting it on 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 8 and things like that. And we got to find a way to stop it. If we're not getting fumbles, we got to try to get picks and tip balls and stuff like that. We got to be around the ball. So they need to improve in that area.
Absolutely.
But maybe we're nitpicking. They're 9-1. I don't know.
That's true. But I mean, it's good to have a team that's this hot and still be able to say, man, if we can shore this up, if we can shore that up, the defensive line can start getting their hands up and deflecting balls into the air, or you know what I mean. There's still room for improvement in this team. And, I mean, that only makes me even more excited for the future.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Be this stud, this dominant of a team right now.
Yeah.
And still be able to sit, whether it's a nitpicky or not, but still be able to sit and do some post-game analysis and say, man, if we can do this, if we can do that, we'd be shutting people out.
Byron Jones, you're right. Byron Jones, 6 tackles, 2 assists. Wilcox had 5, 2 assists, and Lee had 3 with 2 assists. So at the end of the day, I mean, we had 11-minute time of possession advantage. Our offense just beats people to sleep. Mm-hmm. That offensive line just leans on people and leans on people and leans on people until in the late 3rd quarter and into the 4th quarter, you're just starting to see defenses making business decisions and not wanting to tackle. And Zeke is delivering those pounding runs. All in all, 27-17. Everybody kind of thought this was going to be the Waterloo for the Cowboys. This would be the one that they drop. I have said all along that the team that I thought matched up best against the Cowboys was the Redskins. And we're going to get into a little bit of that here in just a minute in the next segment. So, any final thoughts on this past game?
Just keep feeding Zeke.
Yeah, well, he's leading the league in rushing now,
this offense is the offense as a whole, from Dak and the decisions that he makes to this offensive line and the way they just maul them up front, to the talent we have on the outside, to Zeke in the backfield. I mean, this is probably the most fun I've seen this offense look. And that's no slam against Tony or anything, because he's had several years where the offense has hummed like this. It's fun to see young kids out there having fun and winning ball games.
Yeah, absolutely agree, and you can tell that they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll come back in just a few minutes. Pay attention to our sponsors, GameDaySportsTours.com, Sam Sports Grill out at Blue Turtle Bay in Old Hickory, Tennessee, where we have all of our the Middle Tennessee Dallas Cowboy fan club watch parties.
That's right.
And also the Ultimate Sports Fan in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And I hope you're paying close attention to this video, because somewhere in here we mentioned something, or we're going to mention something that you're going to need to know if you're out at the watch party to win a prize from the Ultimate Sports Fan in Mount Juliet. Pay attention to our sponsors, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Well, up in the north, the way out west, even in the east, they know that we're the best in the land of the star. We're living the dream. Texas proud, we're America's team. We're the Cowboys. Stop!
Love them Dallas Cowboys.
Stop! Come on, everybody, out of your seat. Stand up now and stomp your feet. Let's raise the roof, make a little noise. Here come the Dallas Cowboys. Stop!
All right, we are back, and I hope you pay attention to our sponsors. I'm Rob Bale. This is Levi Batchelor. We are with the Middle Tennessee Dallas Cowboys fan club, and we're getting ready to preview the Thanksgiving Day game.
The rivalry.
Yeah, I mean it's Redskin week, and it's time. Look, there's no lies here. We hate them.
Don't like them.
Don't like
Not
them at all.
a bit.
The funny thing about this rivalry is records really don't matter. We could be 9-1, we could be 1-9. They could be 6-3-1, and they could be 1-3-6 or whatever. It really doesn't matter, because these teams know each other so very well. And the upshot to playing a rival on a short week is that a lot of that prep work had already been done, and it's just now looking at some of their tendencies over the past couple weeks. We're doing it, they're doing it, and so it's not that big a deal. I think the big deal on the short week comes in where you play through some hobbled guys.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and where they wouldn't have their full week to recuperate and maybe get those bruises healed up a little bit better. Some of those aches may still be there on both sides. The good news is that we are fairly healthy coming out of the Ravens game, other than the injuries that we had prior.
Right.
I think we're good to go on that side of it. If there's an advantage anywhere, it's with the Cowboys, in that we played an early game on Sunday.
Yep.
They played a late night game on Sunday night, and they have to travel. Washington comes in at 6-3-1. Of course, we're 9-1. And let's talk a little bit about the matchup. One of the things that we know we have to do is we have to get pressure on quarterbacks. We have to find a way to get more sacks and things like that. But I don't think this is the game to go crazy blitzing. Cousins is one of the best in the league against the blitz. He has a phenomenally high completion percentage.
He gets the ball out quick.
Right, and I think he has 8 touchdowns and 1 interception, or 7 touchdowns and 1 interception against the blitz. So we've got to play good defense, and the concern that I have this week, because Mo is out and because Church is still out, what are we going to do with Byron Jones? You know, sometimes people say, well, you want to walk him down and let him play Jordan Reed, the tight end. The problem is that if you do that, you got Jordan Reed as their tight end, and they move him all over the place.
Yes, they do.
They'll play him wherever, and so you've got Byron Jones playing out of position, and you've got him running, chasing all over the field. The guy that I think you really want to be careful of is Crowder. He has, in the last few weeks, he's really stepped up, and I think a lot of people have lost him in the secondary. Of course, Garcon and Deshaun Jackson is dangerous. Jackson's not what he was 5 years ago,
Right.
but he is still very dangerous, and he can still get the job, and he's a very smart player. And they read defenses as well as any receiving core in the league, and that's what helps Cousins. Cousins understands that, and they can get open, and they can hurt you.
I don't necessarily think that there's a huge need for it, because like I said, with as steady as the offense has been, I'll go into some team stats for you. So the Cowboys defense, we're number 5 in the entire league in points allowed. Mm-hmm. We are number 13, middle of the pack, in total yards allowed. Now, here's the funny part of that, is we are number 21 in passing yards allowed, but number 3 in rushing yards allowed. We're the number 3 defense in rushing yards allowed. So what that tells me is our offense is able to consistently go out there and constantly march down the field, take a bunch of time off the clock, and put points on the board. So teams are having to play from behind and throw the ball. Now, I think that plays well into what Washington wants to do. So I think instead of throwing a bunch of blitzes and stuff at Washington, we played sound coverage, and those guys up front have got to start getting, if they can't get to the quarterback, they got to start getting hands up, getting the arms up and swatting at balls, knocking them down, or even just tipping them and deflecting them, getting them up in the air, and giving the secondary and linebackers a chance to get to them and cause turnovers like that. Interceptions should be what we're trying to, if there is a focus on forcing turnovers. I think that it ought to be, like I said, getting the arms up. If you can't get to the quarterback, get your arms up, block his vision. What I would rather see is those guys up front, or maybe only send, maybe send 5, after Cousins, just because that he's so good at beating you over the top. You got to get to him, and you got to get to him quick. If you can't get to him, you got to get your arms up. You got to get hands up and start swatting at footballs.
Yeah, that's true. He's pretty good at getting the ball, getting rid of the ball quickly, and I think too. We don't want to overlook the running game. I mean, we haven't given up a 100-yard rusher this year, but this Rob Kelly has come on strong last 3-4 weeks. He didn't play at all in our first matchup against the Redskins. And he just came in and then took over the starting running back job from the guy that took over and kicked out Alfred Morris.
That's right.
So he's finding his juju right now. I still think we'll handle him. I don't think we'll give up 100 yards rushing to him. He had 135 yards rushing against Green Bay last week. But it's Green Bay, and their defense is not as good as it was before, and so they're just a shell. So all in all, I think that's a speaking from a defensive perspective, I think we'll do well.
Yeah,
if we play sound, like we were talking.
Yes.
If they play with their assignments properly, stay in their lanes, do sound tackling and things like that, I think we'll be fine.
Just to tag on to that, I think that as much grief as we give this defensive line, it seems on a weekly basis, you're not number 3 in the league in defensive rushing yards allowed without playing your gaps right and without talent in that front 7. So they may not be getting to the quarterback as much as we would want them to, but man, they can shut down a run game.
I'm excited about what we can do against them offensively as well. I know you have some numbers from an offensive standpoint. What do you got?
Yeah, so our offense to this point in the year, we're the number 3 in points scored. We're also number 5 in total yards. Washington, their defense is 18 in points allowed and 22 in yards allowed, and that includes a 22nd team in rushing yards allowed. There's some weaknesses that we can exploit on them on offense, and it's going to be one of those games that I don't think we necessarily need. I think this is a game that with this offensive line that if Washington, just like everybody else we played really to this point, if Washington wants to stack the box, we can let Dak go out there and do his thing. If they want to start playing some wrinkles in coverage, then we just start feeding the beast.
Pick your poison.
That's it.
From an offensive standpoint, we should be able to. Zeke should be able to have a fairly monumentous day.
Yep.
Just from statistically, the matchup very much favors the Cowboys. This whole entire offensive line just beats people to sleep every single week.
Yep.
It's not to say that they can't stumble or they can't have a bad game or anything like that.
Sure.
But you'd almost have to think about this. You'd almost have to have 5 guys have a terrible week.
Yeah.
This offensive line is so good that one guy could have an off week and the rest of them could make up for it. I think our matchup from an offensive standpoint is very favorable. I don't think Josh Norman is all that in a bag of chips. I think he's a
had more
good.
time complaining about reps than he has out there covering receivers.
I mean, I think he's a good defensive back.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's good. I think he's solid. He's better than average. He's one of the better ones. But I don't think he's great. And I think Dez can abuse him.
And I think Dez will abuse him.
Yeah, I mean,
Dak and Dez are getting simpatico now. And I mean, you saw last week, I mean, 6 catches and 2 touchdowns. And I mean, the two of them are starting to abuse teams. And so the defenses are now going to have to make another choice of how many guys do we throw at Dez?
Right.
How many guys do we throw at Dez? How many guys do we throw at Zeke?
Yeah.
And I mean,
and then what do you do with Whit?
What do you do with Whit? What do you do with Beasley? What do you do with T. Will?
Bryce Butler. I mean, he's been showing up. We've got a lot of weapons. Let's do a player to watch.
My player to watch is gonna be Byron Jones this week. There's no denying his athleticism. I mean, this guy that can jump for miles and can run for days. I want to see somebody's gonna have to start forcing turnovers. Somebody on this defense is gonna have to start forcing turnovers, and like I said, I would love to see the defensive line start getting hands up, start batting balls in the air, and Byron's gonna have one of the toughest assignments out of anybody on the defense with Jordan Reed. But
if they drop him down,
right, he handled him.
Yes. Oh yeah.
He handled him before.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think that he can't replicate that same success.
Exactly.
At this point, everybody's bought into Marinelli's system. Everybody knows we're a bend but don't break. Everybody knows that our offense is going to go out there and score points. So this defense is going to be playing a majority of the game in coverage, running around, chasing guys, forcing turnovers to get off the field, and giving more possessions for our offense is only going to behoove everybody.
For me, it's I'm going to stay on the same side of the ball, but I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to watch Anthony Brown. We say it every week. He's a rookie. He's a 6th round pick. We say it. We label him with he's a 6th round rookie. But he's done very well. He's had moments where he's made mistakes and given up some plays and things like that. But Anthony Brown is a microcosm of this defense, a bend but don't break kind of defense. I think he's a bend but don't break kind of guy. He tackles extremely well. He's learning as he's going, but it's going to be interesting to see what he does with whoever he's on, whether he's going to be on Garcon or we'll keep him out on Jackson. I don't know. I do know this. I know one of the things that we miss in that secondary is we miss Mo's playmaking ability.
Yes.
The fact that he's able to stay with guys.
And his physical presence, too, being a bigger guy,
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I do know that the Cowboys are targeting not this game, but the next game against the Vikings for Church to be back.
Awesome.
So this will be the last game, hopefully, unless there's any setbacks or anything like that. It'll be the last game we play without Church. So.
Well, and it's nice that it's a short week, and you can a lot of people say that it's almost like having another bye. You get 2 games real close together, and then you got 10 days before your next one. So, yeah, I mean, I think getting Church back will be a huge relief.
Predictions. I really think that Washington's been hot, and I know that they've been doing well, and I know all that. I think this game is in hand for the Cowboys as we go into the fourth quarter. I think that we end up winning this game 35-17.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think that that Washington, as hot as they've been, comes out, stays hot, and I think it starts turning into a shootout. That Zeke eventually starts taking over the game in the fourth quarter, and I'm going to take Dallas 35-31. This offense seems to score, our offense seems to score at least 30 points a game, right? That hovers right around there at 30.
Yeah, I don't think scoring is going to be a problem with us this week, and I think our bend but don't break defense. I think the Redskins come back to earth a little bit this week because I look at who they beat and how those teams were playing at that time. I see a lot more potential for them to stumble than the Cowboys. If we can, again, play sound schematic football, we can be in a position to get some of those underneath passes and get them tipped up in the air, and
Yep.
who knows what happens after that? Maybe pick them off and go pick six or whatever. So,
Yep.
so that's our take on this upcoming Redskin game. No watch party for this game, obviously, because it's on Thanksgiving. But our next watch party will be December 1st against the Vikings. It is another Thursday night game, so a week from Thanksgiving, we're going to be out at Sam's Sports Grill at Blue Turtle Bay in Old Hickory, Tennessee. If you're in the area, we really would love to come out.
Come on out.
Have a
Yeah.
great time. It's 50% off the food. You just got to buy a drink, whether it's an alcoholic drink or non-alcoholic. Just buy something to drink, and it's 50% off. The food is awesome.
It is fantastic.
Make sure if you are in the Middle Tennessee area, you want to get out to the Ultimate Sports Fan in Mount Juliet. They're in the paddock area. They have all kinds of shirts and hats and stuff for the sports fan. Not just Cowboys, obviously. They got Titans. They've got all other teams. They've got the Pred stuff and Vols and all that jazz. Great place to go out. Folks out there are fantastic. Just great people to talk with.
Anything you need for the man cave.
Yeah,
right.
they will fix up your man cave for sure. So check them out, and also check out GameDaySportsTours.com if you're going to a Cowboy game or want to go to a Cowboy game. Check them out, give them a call, and they will hook you up with great seats and get a chance to meet a couple players, have a great tailgate and so forth, and you'll have a great time. So until next time, this is Rob Vale and Levi Batcher with the Middle Tennessee Dallas Cowboys Fan Club and the Blue Star Roundup. Thanks a lot, appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time. Go Cowboys!